All right, hey everyone, welcome to a recording of our K23 session. So it was incredibly popular, and that's why we are here today to record it so that for those of you that couldn't attend Knowledge in person, you're able to see our session.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and kick this off.
So normal safe harbor notice, there's going to be some forward-looking statements in here. So everything you see is subject or tentative to change.
And what she means is there's going to be a little bit of road mapping at the end, so stay tuned.
And please, no tweeting, no screenshots, and no posting this on social media because of what we just said. All right, so my name is Nikki Patel. I am the product lead for workforce optimization for ITSM and why I'm here.
And I'm Chad Corvo. I'm here to help Nikki. What I do is all things demo. I'm a technical PSM engineer here at ServiceNow. I've been around 9 years.
All right, so let's get into it. So today we're going to talk about how a multinational technology and e-commerce company mobilize its IT workforce using workforce optimization. So today we're going to talk about what were the challenges they were facing, why they chose workforce optimization, and what outcomes they're driving towards as a result of implementing our solution, and then how they're going to expand their usage onto our product.
Super exciting. And again, this was super popular. That's why we're redoing this again. All right, so let's talk about the challenges, Nikki. What are you seeing with the challenges with this particular item, right? Or this company, right?
Yes. So with this company, as a result of COVID, they actually experienced a surge in order volume. And so as a result of that, they had to expand their technology stack, they had to expand their operations across all their fulfillment centers. And so they have 5,000 fulfillment centers. And as a result of that, it put a lot of duress on the IT support teams that manage all the technology for each of these fulfillment centers across the world. And so there was a need for them to upskill and reskill their team because of the new technologies they implemented to manage the order surges and the volumes and the transactions.
Super amazing. When you told me this story, I got super excited, got excited to acknowledge, excited to talk about it again. So let's continue. So those were the challenges around that. Now, let's go ahead and just get into the demo. And what I'd like to do is just go through their story and use your expertise. There's a lot of cool parts in that. Instead of talking about it, let's get right into that demo.
Absolutely.
So, as I mentioned, we want to get right into the demo, right into the product. This is what the real wow factor was at K23. You really brought it home, but not only that, the company really brought it home. And I wish we could talk about the company, but as you told me the story with workforce optimization, let's go ahead and just kick it off. This is the landing page for the Manager Workspace. Walk me through this.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm excited to talk about their journey because their journey is very compelling. I really wish we could have shared it, but I think this will give a good flavor of how they use workforce optimization to implement and drive towards their challenges. Right. So what you're seeing here is the landing page. And so as a manager, as Ingrid Menard in her demo data role, I log in and I see a pulse of everything that's happening across my teams, whether it's escalation, incidents, where do I need help, approvals, schedules, and how my team is performing. Right. So this gives you a pulse and make sure that the first thing, if you start your day here, you know exactly what you need to focus on.
But even cooler, right?
Exactly. So let's just say you manage multiple assignment groups. This entire workspace and all of the visualizations, the KPIs, the schedules, everything is already pre-filtered by the assignment groups that you manage. And so if you have multiple assignment groups, you could also click into each assignment group and see how they're trending according to first call resolution, CSAT, and any other key KPIs that are important to you.
Yeah, super amazing. I know this helped move the needle with that team, but let's continue on a little bit more and go into channels and queues. I thought this was super cool as well. It's been popular internal, but I know this team particularly had a great success around channels and queues. So go ahead and tell them what that was like.
Yep. So before they had channels and queues, they were spending a lot of time understanding what are the open incidents, who is the person available, what is the correct skill set they match, and do they have the capacity to take on? And as most of you know, that requires going for endpoint solutions or spreadsheets or SharePoints. Now, what you're seeing here is you could automate all of that without a touch of a finger. And so what the channels and queues modules does is identifies what are the open incidents, who are the people on shift ready to work, do they have available capacity, and do they have the right skills necessary to address the incoming incident?
Love it. So speaking of which, you talked about those queues. They're very specific. And so it's able to filter into that. So
Yep. Absolutely. So if you have multiple queues across all the assignment groups, it's flexible and scalable enough where we could accommodate all those queues. So one thing I did want to mention is, okay, Nikki, you talked about routing the right work to the right person with the right skills, but how do you determine that? So using machine learning, we ship out of the box skill determination rules, which identifies and parses the short description and identifies what skill is necessary, appends it, and then matches it against the skill profile of the user, which Workforce Optimization does as well. And
that'll become more important later. So stay tuned, because that skills assessment is going to be part of the wow factor in this. So love it. I love we can get into waiting times. We can average wait times and help with those skills, up-leveling maybe teams. But again, I don't want to open the kimono too much. Let's continue on around the agents. So we're looking at incidents. You can break that down, of course, looking at all agents. And then, of course, the work queued. I want to go into the Amazon Connect tile, right? Because I was really excited about that with the phone telemetry, excuse me. But not to take your thunder, please, let's talk about this.
Yeah, so what Chad just did is we had visibility across all the channels that you solicit your incidents from, whether it's walk-up, incident, portal, Amazon Connect. So out of the box, we provide an integration with Amazon Connect. And you could integrate with any third-party telephony system. So here, what we clicked into was, if I'm interested in seeing my third-party telephony system channel and seeing what's going on here, I could click into here and see what are all the active calls, what is the average call duration, what's queued, and who are working on these queues.
Right.
Yep. So let's take a look at one of the interaction records.
This is cool.
Yep. So what we've done here is we've essentially transcribed the entire audio conversation, showed a recording at the top, and stamped sentiment analysis for each utterance between the requester and the caller. And so why is this critical? Why do you need to know this?
I don't know, but the neutral, the positive, the negative, giving a visual. All right, I do.
And I will let you know. So this is where the power of the platform comes. So if we keep going, and if you want to see what other tasks they're working on, that's where the user task comes in, is we actually allow you to get an overview of what is the overall sentiment analysis. Now, if you want to coach that person or do some quality management around, okay, how do I increase CSAT? How do I make sure this person is managing the requester better? We've embedded coaching assessment directly in there. So there's two ways to do this. We have automated triggers that will create coaching assessments based on conditions and criteria you set. So with the coaching opportunity, you could say, hey, anytime a CSAT for any specific interaction is below maybe 85%, trigger a coaching assessment, and this will flag the coach or the manager or whoever on your team is managing the coaching and the quality management piece to go in and assess this record. And that's what you see here.
And not to cut you off, but I remember specifically there was a side conversation after our session that someone said, this is really going to help us do more with less, more with less. Yep. And I know a lot of you out there have been talking about trying to do a little bit more with less. And what does that mean? Really getting those skills, up-leveling those skills across the teams.
Yep, exactly. Because considering the volume that your service desk or any of your L2, L3 desks at, you don't have time to go into and click into each incident, change task, whatever the IT work item is. Right. So this only focuses your attention on the interactions that matter and that you really need to focus on. And, when we think about, our technology desk KPIs, like the number one driver is how do we increase CSAT? Well, we increase CSAT by ensuring we're driving team productivity and agent productivity. And that's what this does is now that you have an insight into how did the interaction go, how am I coaching this person? You could directly relate this and ensure that your key KPIs, such as mean time to resolution, first call resolution, are all trending upwards or actually trending downwards where it should be.
Yeah, definitely downwards.
Yep.
So speaking of coaching, let's get into that. So I clicked down into the coaching tab, again, part of the workforce optimization suite. Let's take a look here. Learning overviews. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yep,
Sorry.
Exactly. So coaching is where we come to manage the quality, identify the skill gaps, and administer learning to mitigate the skill gaps. So what you're seeing here is also an overview of what is the current status of my learning journey across the teams I manage. Where is my demand? So I want to bring your attention to the top right where we show a list of skills, the number of records, and team skill coverage. And what this shows actually is what is the highest demanded skills based on the incoming work items that are assigned to your team. How many work items, whether it's incidents, change tasks, interactions, require that skill? And then what is your coverage for each skill at each proficiency level for the team members on your team? So this shows what is the demand and what is the skills gap so that you could effectively have insight into what type of learning you need to administer for your team.
Super cool.
And this is just the beginning, Chad.
So we got the skills trend, as you mentioned. Let's continue on. So learnings, I know this was super popular. There's a question that came up out of the audience at the end. Go ahead. I don't want to steal that thunder as well. Learnings.
So learning is a function of HR. We know that. And that's why we actually collaborated with HR to ensure that any type of learning that is done across your company, it's all from one source of truth.
Right.
Now, the context of where the learning happens is in the context of the work you do, which is why you see it here, where we're writing to the same tables that HR is, but now you could see it in the context of the work that's coming into your teams. So with the learning tab, what we see here is these are the course items and the learning paths that have been assigned to your team members. Learning path is a sequential course or set of course items. Like you could create a learning path for new joiners. Let's just say there's standard operating procedures, there's specific course items you want your L1 service desk agent to have insight into. You could create a learning path for that and through a learning task assign it.
Awesome.
And we integrate with third-party learning management systems. So you could create a KB, you could track KBs from your internal knowledge base, you could create a URL video, but also we integrate with Pluralsight, Cornerstone, Udemy, so you could pull in courses from those third parties and have that experience embedded in the context of the workspace that you and your team members are working in.
And I know this was super exciting for many audience members. So I'm glad you touched on that part. Let's continue just because of time. We're going to keep this. So we had the open assessments as you mentioned, we have the skills. Now I thought this was pretty impactful as well. Go ahead and talk about the skills matrix.
Yep. Right? So if you remember earlier, we talked about how we automatically route the right work to the right person with the right skills. Now this gives you visibility about who has the right skills across your team members.
Right.
But hey, I mean, who has time to actually come in here and manually change it, right?
Right.
It's something we want to do. It's something we should do. We just don't have time to do it. So I want to bring your attention to that blue box that says recommended.
Right there. Yeah.
So what we've done here is this is another place where we embedded machine learning, where if an agent of yours works on a specific work item that requires that skill, but they don't have that skill, we will proactively recommend that skill be added. So now when you go to the landing page, as we've seen in the beginning, there was an approvals widget. This is the type of approval that a manager can see. So they could go there and see, hey, my machine learning engine or my recommendation engine is recommending that Billy Toothmaker get recommended for the firewall skill.
Right.
And so I could automatically add it with me having to go in and assess whether or not that person needs that skill.
Nice. Yeah. And again, there's a lot of popular items around this. So let's go to scheduling. I know this came up a lot. This was top of mind for many people in the audience. Go ahead and talk about this.
Yep. So we talked about the skills. We talked about the quality management piece, but we need to make sure the right people are there on shift to take account of the demand coming in.
Right.
So what this shows is, this looks like a schedule, just, hey, when is everyone working what shift? But what we've done, and I want to bring your attention to the top row, which is total resources needed, is based on the historical volume that's been coming in through your channels and queues module, we've projected up to the 50, 30, and 60-minute interval how many resources you need per those increments per assignment group. So that red, amber, green color you're seeing basically shows where are you properly staffed, where are you overstaffed and understaffed based on the projected resources you need for that incremental time.
Super cool. So the other thing is that these little pop-ups, I think that was pretty exciting for many people just at a glance, so they don't have to dive deep into this, the scheduling, right?
That's right. So you know exactly where your attention needs to be, where you need to staff more people or where you're overstaffed so you could shift some more resources.
Super cool. So you can actually get into the personas of each of the person or the staff, excuse me, but yeah. And then what are they seeing here as they dive into?
Yep. So let's just say that you're focused on a person and you just want to know, hey, what's going on in BB's world?
Right.
Here you could see how that person is performing against team KPIs you've set, which we will jump into later. What are the skills they have, upcoming time off? What are the channels they're working on, as well as who are their teammates? So this just gives you an overall view of how is this person doing as a whole on your team, if there's anything you want to dive into.
Right. And I like the tasks, the skills, the groups. Is all laid out in typical ServiceNow form. Okay, so let's go back to the home page and let's reset and talk about teams, because teams are important. We heard that a lot, right? You're working on teams, you're up leveling teams, doing, you're doing more with less. where are we at with what does this mean with the teams?
Yep. So we talked about quality management, coaching, how you upskill. Now, how do you see the impact of all the initiatives?
Right.
How do you ensure you're making your teams as productive as possible? Because all these outcomes that you're driving towards, the end goal is I want to make my team as productive as possible. And that's what this provides insight into is we dynamically generate based on any date range that you want across any team you want. How are they performing against key KPIs you've set? Right. So here I could see as a group, like what is the average handle time, closed incidents, quality as a group, but I could actually drill down and see it by person with embedded process optimization insights.
And with our global fulfillment company, I remember you saying it was one particular team, but did it go across teams? Was they showing success across that?
Mm-hmm.
That part I didn't catch when we were having this.
Yep, absolutely. So right now, they, as a result of implementing WFO, they have seen a change in their CSAT. And in addition, so I wanted to come back to the process optimization insights, which unfortunately, I'm not sure that we have it here, but what process optimization does is it helps you identify bottlenecks or inefficiencies in your process. So this customer, right, they were saying when they first came to us, they're like, hey, I don't think we're mature enough to take on workforce optimization or process optimization. Right. But this is the beauty of this product. You don't need to be at any level of maturity. You could use these products to identify where is the weaknesses on your team and your processes.
And we're seeing some of that here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Process optimization.
Exactly. Yeah. So what this does is if you're already your work is being done on the ServiceNow platform, we just take all that and populate it into this workspace. So this is little to no lift for the team, but this helps you identify what is the overall health of the team and the processes and the work that's coming in.
And it becomes your core area to work, right, for your teams. Which was pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. So diving into some of those processes and the process optimization, you have the performance around each team.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So what you see here is we just clicked into one level deeper from the team performance module. So what we're focusing on here is, as I mentioned, as a manager, if you're managing multiple assignment groups, maybe I want to focus on my IT service desk. Here I could see what is my overall KPI performance across the entire team, as well as how each team member is doing. So if I want to set performance targets, which you can do to say, hey, Alberta, your average handle time should actually be like maybe 10 hours or 15 hours. I could create performance targets, and those performance targets actually show up in Service Operations Workspace. So one thing I did want to mention here is the experience we're looking at here is that for the manager of teams.
Right.
Now we have an experience we've curated for those team members on Service Operations Workspace.
Yes.
So for example, as a manager, if I set a performance target here for Alberta, when Alberta logs into Service Operations Workspace, she will see the work that's assigned to her. She could see her schedules. She could also see what is my current performance against the performance target my manager has set for me, as well as learning assigned to me, as well as available shifts I need to sign up for, and so much more.
And I'm actually working on a demo as we speak around this for someone like Lakshmi, a service desk agent, doing assessments. And so those assessments on Service Operations Workspace does port over to this very nicely. So I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, let's continue a little bit more.
And these are all the incidents that the service desk team is working on, as well as group members and additional managers. So actually, I do want to talk about this,
let's
Chad.
talk.
I know, Chad, I got a little too excited there. So, when you have a traditional IT technology team, but sometimes you have team leads or you have other people who are scheduling for you or coaching for you. And that's where the beauty of additional managers comes in. So let's just say you want specific people on your team to only have a subset view of what we've shown here. Right. Maybe you have a coach who should only focus on coaching. Maybe we have a scheduler that only focuses on creating schedules. By adding them as an additional manager and based on the granular level of ACLs and roles and privileges we allow you to do, each additional manager, you could curate the view they want when they log in. And so as Ashley, if I just want her to be looking at the Teams module and maybe schedules for only IT service desk, I can do that.
Definitely. And then that keeps our arms around anything that is maybe visually, sensitive information, things like that. So, And did this come up with this particular customer?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, we've worked through the requirements with them. So this is something they're implementing right now.
And it's on their roadmap.
And it's on their roadmap.
Okay, awesome. All right. So again, we have the list of skills laid out. Is this something you want to talk?
Yeah, I think for this one, we touched upon it. So this is just another view of what are all the skills this team member has at what proficiency level.
Exactly. All right, let's get back. So let's wrap it up. Let's talk about roadmaps. But I want you to go ahead and close out maybe on some of the successes. I mean, it's been how long we've been away from Knowledge? A little bit. Have you gotten any updates on this particular customer? Any more successes around this?
Yep. So, with this product, we've shown you a lot, and this is just scratching the surface. We haven't gone.
We don't have a lot of time, so I know.
Yep. And so what I wanted to mention is what's great about this product is you could ramp up in your journey as you want to do. So with this customer, we recommended that, you start your journey with 1 or 2 modules and you ramp up. And so they started with scheduling, they started with team performance, and now they're going to go into quality management. Nice. So far they've started with schedules, team performance, and they're seeing the schedules being created. They've started tracking coverage and demand, and now they actually have the ability to have insight into how many people they need at what time, at what location, as well as the channels and queues actually by tracking that operational volume and making sure that people with the right skills are working on the right working item. They're seeing their team KPIs such as CSAT drive up. Okay. So we're already seeing them trend towards positive outcomes.
Super awesome. Again, I know this is a very popular session at Knowledge. I know there's a lot of requests to redo this, so I'm glad we can redo this. Let's go ahead and wrap it up with the slides and look at maybe some road mapping.
Absolutely.
So the success matrix, let's go ahead and close out on that.
All right. So some of their success metrics, right? So we talked about how they implemented channels and queues. And so now they're routing a lot of their customers onto all these different, or not their customers, their employees. They refer to them as their customers. They're directing users to the Now platform, and now they catch omni-channel visibility across their incidents coming in from all their channels. Nice. So before they had the application sprawl and go to every endpoint solution, and now they've siphoned all the volume so that they have a one-stop shop to have visibility across that. The second is they're on their way to reducing their incident time. And this goes back to ensuring you have the quality management, ensuring you understand who has the right skills, and mitigating those skills gap so that you have the right people working on the right thing. And as a result of everything we talked about, they see an increase in their CSAT because now you have people who are equipped with the right skills working on the right work item. And they're seeing a boost in their team productivity. So win-win all around.
So there's wins all around. This is some of the phasing that you talked about. We just want to lay it out again.
Yep. So we talked about channels and queues, and I want to bring your attention to Work Scheduler. Just the way our world works today, right? You're sharing resources, you have shared services use cases, you have L2 support teams. And so sometimes you have teams working on incidents, but also change tasks or project tasks or, different types of work items. And that requires scheduling and planning versus incidents are reactive, high volume. And so what Work Scheduler allows you to do is prioritize, allocate, and balance resources across the unplanned work incidents versus planned work like change tasks. So you can schedule these change tasks and understand their full capacity across all the work items they're working on the ServiceNow platform.
Yeah, that was super cool and super popular. If you do have any questions, go ahead and reach out, community page, we're there. I did want to mention some road mapping, right? So as we close, you gave the audience some of what's coming, maybe not specific to this customer, but what's coming for the workforce optimization aspects in ServiceNow. And again, this is forward-looking, but I'd love to pick your brain since this is a popular topic for many of our audience.
Yes, so we didn't mention this here, which is why we had the safe harbor, and this is something that's in development, is automated scheduling. Using ML and Gen AI is identifying what is the most optimal schedule based on objectives you set, whether that's, regulatory compliance, labor regulation laws, based on high performance, based on if you're introducing a new service, with scheduling, it's repetitive, it's redundant. We know historically, we know that. It's a pain.
We know that.
We have the data to understand what is your historical choice. And so using all the cool technology we have on our platform, we could automate that for you so you can focus on the quality management piece, tracking team KPIs, and elevating the team to boost productivity.
And I know that would be super popular. Anything else coming down? I know Gen AI was brought up a little bit at Knowledge. I know CJ talked about it, but anything more just specific to workforce optimization?
One more thing that we're working on. Yeah. So, with the team performance, right? I know with certain companies seeing performance by individuals, it's sensitive, and we get that, right? We definitely get that. But I think there's been a growing interest in, hey, I want to see performance by the services that my team support.
Okay.
So how we integrate with digital portfolio management and
Nice.
provide that service-oriented view in the context of the team supporting those services.
Nice.
So we have that in the pipeline as well.
All right. So a little
some exciting
DPN.
things. Mhm.
Anything else you want to unload or?
You know, I think that's good for now.
I
We
think
have a
that's
lot
good.
more. We have
All
a
right.
lot more.
And we're
next time.
short on time. So
Mhm.
again, I want to, Nikki, thank you very much for
Mhm.
doing this again. I
Thank
know
you
it was
for having me.
popular.
Mhm.
I know there was a lot of questions last time when we did this. So
Mhm.
please reach out, like we said,
Mhm.
and hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah, sounds great. We'll
All right.
see you next year at
Thank you.
Knowledge.
All right. Beautiful.